Welcome inside the IKS Media Studios for the WCBL Game of the Week broadcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight on YouTube as well as Flow College for tonight's game against the Okotoks Dawgs and the Moose Jaw Miller Express at Rosswells Park in Moose Jaw. Again, we will be throwing to the broadcast a little bit later in the show. You'll hear Rod Peterson's golden tones coming through shortly, but we have a bit of a pregame show for you to just cue up the game, get you ready for all the action, take a look across the league as well, and then bring you right into Rosswells Park for the game. Joining me today, I have my co-host, Jamie Neugebauer. For those of you who might follow along with our SJHL coverage, you know exactly who this guy is. But we have a bunch of Alberta viewers today, Nugsy, who probably don't know who you are. No offense, they don't know who I am either.
That's cool.
So let's introduce you a little bit. First of all, Nugsy, I know you have an extensive baseball knowledge and a background. You love the sport. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm from Toronto, Ontario.
Sorry.
I worked in the Inter-County Baseball League with the Kitchener Panthers for a couple of years. So if you know anything about the Inter-County League, I live close to where the Toronto Maple Leafs play there.
The baseball
Christy Pitts, the baseball team, as well. So I was a big fan of the Inter-County League there for years. Big, obviously, Blue Jays fan. Who isn't? Well, I guess lots of people aren't. But that being said, baseball is a passion, and I'm thrilled to be here. And I'm thrilled to talk some WCBL.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful league. It is so much fun, and I can't wait. Can't wait to cover it with you a bit this year, Clark.
Same. I was extremely excited when we got you on board for this because I knew that your baseball knowledge was, you're a hockey guy first, technically, but I know your baseball knowledge is on par with, if not exceeding, your hockey knowledge. So for those who might not know me, I still play baseball, senior men's baseball here in Regina. I played a little bit of junior college baseball at Monterey Peninsula College back in the day. In 2009 and 2010. It feels like forever ago. Feels like some of these kids now are like born in the year that I was at college, which is, I'm guessing we're getting old, Nugsy.
Yeah.
But it is, baseball has been a part of my life forever. So extremely excited to be a part of the WCBL crew and jumping in with guys like Joe McFarland and Ian Wilson and Joe Whitbread and the whole crew over at the WCBL. So Nugsy, let's talk about what this game of the week is going to be. It's the Okotoks Dawgs at Moose Jaw Miller Express. Before we get to kind of diving into the teams, let's have a little bit of a look around the league. We'll start with the power rankings because it kind of paints a good picture of where we're at right now. We're about 10 to 12 games into the year, depending on which team you look at. And as you can see, Nugsy, Medicine Hat and Saskatoon, two Eastern Division teams, have been exploding up the charts so far this season. Okotoks, who we're going to see tonight, is top 3 right now in the power rankings. They were a team that obviously won it last year. They've won 4 of the last 5 championships. So I know their fans who are tuning into this broadcast know that already. But for anybody new to the league, they're a bit of a juggernaut. And as you can see, Moose Jaw, they're the X over on the right side. They're 8th right now, but they were in the final last year. That's why tonight's matchup is going to be so exciting because it is a rematch of last year's final, and these two teams did play last night as well. Nugsy, let's have a look at some of the league leaders in hitting now to kind of paint you a picture. Do you want to touch on the power rankings?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Can we throw back the power rankings up just for 1 second? Medicine Hat is 6-4, and they are 1.
This is in
Saskatoon
in their last 10.
In their last 10.
Yeah, Medicine Hat got off to a really hot start.
But Saskatoon is 9-2 on the year.
Yeah.
Why is Saskatoon 2 and Medicine Hat 1?
That's a great question. You would think it should be the other way around. And it's because, Nugsy, Saskatoon started the power rankings a little lower. Medicine Hat was on like the craziest tear ever last week. Like they were higher than Saskatoon last week. So I think Ian gave them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because they were 1 spot higher last week, that they just both moved up 1 spot rather than Saskatoon leapfrogging. However, Saskatoon just beat Medicine Hat twice.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to change going into next week.
That is the talk of the town up in Saskatoon.
It
Carter
is.
Beck and the boys, the Berries. Unbelievable how they've made that organization what it is so fast and put the product on the field. That's the most important part.
Absolutely. And as we were talking about in our preseason shows, if you go back and check out our talks on the Berries, they were able to, poaching is it's a scary word, but they were able to acquire 4 or 5 top-end players from around the league to bring them into this roster this year. So expectations are over the moon right now for the Saskatoon Berries. And early on, I mean, they're showcasing their talents pretty well.
All is fair in love and war. That's
exactly. So let's have a look now at the league leaders in batting as we kind of move along to kind of get a sense of what's going on so far in the league. As you can see, we talked about Medicine Hat. They have 2. Actually, Timo Arancina is actually on the Energy City Cactus Rats. So it's changed that logo beside his name, but at the same time, very good player. But Carter Roth, Nugsy, is a guy that has just been so impressive this year, at least in the batting average department. And then you mentioned Carter Beck. But talk about Carter Roth, because I know you had some thoughts on him.
Yeah, obviously another Ontario boy, too. Stratford, Ontario's own, the great home of Justin Bieber, of course.
Of course.
For them to know. 509, and that is in 53 at bats. So that's pretty good, decent sample size. 26 of 27 of them are singles.
Right.
But, you get on base, you get on base. Moneyball, he gets on base.
And you mentioned before, we were talking about this before the show, but he's kind of the Luis Arias of the WCBL. He just gets on base, a lot of singles, high average, but
low strikeout. And just like Arias, too. Can't strike him out.
Can't strike him out.
And Arias doesn't walk that much either. So he really is the Arias of our league.
Kind of is. So, let's bring up those hitting leaders one more time, because the other guy we just want to point out as we talk about the league as a whole is Carter Beck. He just got back. He missed the first few games, but boy, has he been on a tear. He has 14 RBIs already, hitting .480. He's got a few home runs. Let's have a look at the home run leaders. Do you want to touch on that?
I just want to mention, actually, Zane Scanzi is also on Okotoks. He's a guy with pedigree from a real baseball factory, Creighton University. Only 3 games played there. He's at Campbellsville University in Kentucky right now. But for whatever reason, they seem to use him sparingly. Some games on, some games off. Whenever he does, you can see he's raking. But we know what the pedigree. He's got size. He hits. He's got that power to the gaps. He is a guy with a great eye as well. He goes deep in counts. He walks a good amount. His strikeouts are a bit up right now too. But if he continues to play, Okotoks always has those gems coming in. So he's another guy I got my eye on.
Yeah, Brooks.
Whenever you see Creighton beside a name.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, it's a great school. Let's take a look at the home run leaders here. As we kind of continue our look across the league. As you can see, Tyler Vanesti has got off to a huge start, and he's a huge reason why Medicine Hat is what they are. They are an offensive powerhouse. His teammate Micah Dvorak is just a little bit below him there. You can see Carter Clearout, who's in the picture there from Brent Rydlinski and the Lethbridge Bulls. He's had a great start to the year. And Carter Beck, he's having only played a few games. He's down there. Jackson Yeager, who's going to be featured in tonight's matchup that you're watching tonight, Moose Jaw versus Okotoks. He had a massive week, all 3 home runs in 1 week to kick off the season, the first week. So he's off to a great start to this season as well.
Except he'll be my Moose Jaw guy to watch. I guess we'll get into that maybe a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about
There's
that.
a reason for that. We'll get to that. That's what we call
But keep him in your mind.
That's what we call in the industry a teaser or a cliffhanger. But one thing that we've talked about a couple times, me and Joe McFarland over on the WCBL report.
It's a great show.
Despite the offensive numbers being really crazy this year, there's also been some great pitching performances. So let's have a look at some of the top pitchers in the league. As you can see, Ian Heck is a guy that we love to point out because he is the Shohei Ohtani of the WCBL. He's also got some insane offensive numbers as well. But look at those pitching numbers. 19 inning pitched, 3 starts already, 1.42 ERA. He's a stud. Seth Gurr, who's on the Okotoks Dawgs here, who are playing tonight, has had a great season as well. One guy we wanted to point out, Nugsy, from Swift Current was Adam Cordy, who has 4 appearances this year, 3 starts. He actually came in to close the game the other night, so I call him the Madison Bumgarner. If you know that reference, you know why. But he has a great, he's put together a really great season so far.
Yeah, and of course you throw, the boy from California there at the top, Blake Johnson.
Yes.
And you know what? You're like a 0 ERA. It is a small sample size.
2 games,
that's 2
starts.
That's 2 starts.
Yeah, 2 5-inning starts.
5-inning starts.
Yeah.
He lost. He didn't lose. The team lost one of them.
Yeah.
Of course, Medicine Hat's offense.
Right.
Who's stopping that right now?
Nobody.
They have 123 runs. Well, yeah. But they have 123 runs. Scored.
Yeah.
And he didn't give up a run over 5 innings to Medicine Hat.
Yeah.
Clearly, Mr. Johnson, 6'4", 200 pound, out of Rogers State. He's a veteran guy, senior. But man, he's been impressive over those 2 starts. You can only do when you play what you know. What you can only do what you do when you play.
Gotta do your job.
And he's been nothing but dominant.
It's the Bill Belichick approach. Do your job. Let's have a look at the scores from Tuesday night now, because there has been some really great games in the past couple days. As you can see at the bottom there, Regina was supposed to play Swift Current, but that was postponed due to air quality. So that's going to be made up in July in a doubleheader. Lethbridge beat Brooks 7-4. Weyburn beat Moose Jaw, the team we're seeing tonight, 13-1. Weyburn hasn't played yet since they play again tonight. Energy City stomped Fort Mac 14-0. The Saskatoon Berries, as I mentioned, they did hold the Medicine Hat Mavericks to a low score, 7-1. That was an electric game there. And then Okotoks with a 5-2 win over Sylvan Lake in a huge West Division matchup. And then last night in the league, we saw the Energy City Cactus Rats again beat Fort Mac 11-6. That was a really cool game. It was at 11 in the morning, and there was 1,500 kids there. It was a school day game. This rematch of last night's game, Moose Jaw and Okotoks, Moose Jaw snuck out a 12-11 win in a comeback walk-off fashion, Nugsy, in extra innings. You can't ask for much more.
Can't wait to talk to the coaches of the 2 teams, too.
Exactly.
Which we'll do in a bit here.
Yeah, we'll talk to both coaches who are going to be our special guests, Lou Pote and Eric Marriott, momentarily. I'm going to save the bottom one there for after. Saskatoon, that was also another electric one. They came. It was a walk-off bunt, Nugsy.
Yeah.
How often do you see a walk-off bunt?
Anything can happen in the WCBL.
Anything can happen. And then
it's wild, but it doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise you. Lethbridge got a 9-8 win over Sylvan Lake. Lethbridge is hot right now. And then, as I mentioned, Swift Current, they got a big 9-4 win against the Regina Red Sox last night, but that's not the main story. Yeah. The main story is there was a special theme night last night in Regina, and it's going to be hard for you to see these. I'll try. You won't be able to see these very good, but these are actual playing cards, which is a very cool project done up for the Indian Head Rockets. They were a team in the 1950s that played out of Indian Head, Saskatchewan, made up of entirely African-American and Latino baseball players in a time where that was kind of out of the norm. And they traveled all over the place, played games, and there was 2 members of the team there last night. We have some photos. This is Willie Reed and Nat Bates. Willie Reed's on the left, Nat Bates is in the middle, I believe. And Robin, you can see there on the bottom right. She's from the Indian Head Sports Museum, I think it is. The Indian Head Museum. Anyways, there was some great tribute for these guys. Look at their jerseys. Look at their shirts.
Lovely.
Awesome stuff. They threw out the first pitch, which is super cool, as you can see here. Really cool moment for these guys because I think, this was 75 years ago, Nugsy.
Yeah.
This is a lifetime ago. And these guys, probably to an extent, I remember talking to Gary Brotzel, who's the president of the Red Sox, earlier this spring, and he said they kind of thought they were forgotten, and they were able to get, showcased and featured and celebrated. As you can see here, the team, the Regina Red Sox, got to kind of meet them and greet them. Just a really, really cool night across the ballpark and a really cool night for these 2 guys in particular.
Yeah, I mean, the WCBL is it is a league all about the love of baseball.
Yeah.
But those guys that, we're going to go wherever we can, do whatever we can to play this game that we love.
Right.
If that's coming up to a small place in Saskatchewan, maybe they've never heard of before.
I mean, not many have heard of Indian Head.
Yeah, then that shows that is a level of love for baseball that even people in our day and age could have a hard time understanding.
Exactly.
So kudos to those guys.
One cool piece of paraphernalia that I'm allowed to open, I was told. I'm allowed to unbox this.
Special moment.
Kelly Lewick, our head designer here at IKS for our project with the WCBL, it was at the game last night, and he bought a T-shirt, and he loves this logo, and he said I could open it up on the show. So let's have a look here as we kind of unveil this beautiful Rockets logo and shirt. Look at that. Look at that. It's such a cool logo. You see the rocket and the R there.
Lovely.
The color is awesome. The material here is awesome. And these are all for sale, Nugsy. There is a link. Maybe we'll put the link in the description.
What's on the arm?
The arm is I think it's a tribute to the fire hall in Indian Head. Okay. So there must be some connection
1907.
there. You can see it says Indian Head.
That's awesome.
I think it's part of the museum, maybe the fire hall. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a really cool piece of art, honestly, and these playing cards as well. But Nugsy, you know what? That kind of transitions us into tonight's action. So let's have a look at the matchup tonight. Okotoks in Moose Jaw for Game 2 of a doubleheader not doubleheader, a back-to-back, I should say, against Moose Jaw Miller Express. It's going to be a good pitching matchup tonight. It's going to be a good rematch because these teams just played an extra innings game. But these 2 teams also have some history, Nugsy, recently.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they played in the finals a year ago, and Okotoks won 2 out of 3. But where did Okotoks lose the one game? That was in Moose Jaw. So Moose Jaw held on to home field advantage as best as they could. Obviously, it's a busy schedule, game. So they had to manage their arms, they had to manage everything energy-wise. But obviously, very excited to talk and ask those coaches specifically, like, what was the revenge factor like for Moose Jaw, the urgency factor?
Right.
See if they give us coach speak, or if they give us, if you know what I mean by coach speak, like, every game matters, every game is important. You know what? For Moose Jaw, I bet, I would put money on the fact that they cared to put a statement out there that they're no joke, and that they want to kickstart their season because there's a lot of pride in that Moose Jaw team, and maybe it hasn't been as great a start, especially for a team that was in the finals last year. So they can really make a statement, I think, if they can circle this, these 2 games, and so we had Okotoks come in here and we beat them both nights. Time to get
that sends a huge message. The pitching matchup tonight is Weston Walls for the Moose Jaw Miller Express versus Brody Forno for the Okotoks Dawgs. We'll get into that with the coaches as well. But let's just quickly, Nugsy, before we get to the coaches, quickly run through a look at the team stats for each team. So let's have a look first at Moose Jaw. Let's have a look at their batting leaders. Okotoks, I think it was, batting leaders. Let's start with Okotoks. As you can see, Connor Krausen, a super impressive local player out of Okotoks. He's leading the way. This is sorted by at-bats, so if you see the numbers kind of varying, that's why. But Connor Krausen has had a great start to the year. Barry Eisman has had a really good start as well. Zane Scansey, who you mentioned, Nugsy, in the Okotoks Dawgs organization, a great player. We'll switch. Benito Bonilla had a huge night. He had 2 home runs last night.
And 3 on the year, so 2 of his 3 yesterday.
Yesterday.
He's someone to watch when he steps into the box tonight.
As we switch to the pitching now to have a look at Okotoks' pitching situation, the starting pitcher tonight is not on this list. He's only got 4.5 innings pitched or so this year, so he's still kind of getting into the groove. But as you can see up at the top, Seth Gurr had a really impressive season. AJ Rogers, 6 innings pitched to 0 ERA. So Okotoks has no shortage of solid pitchers on that staff. Let's switch over to Moose Jaw's hitting as we look at kind of the guys who will be trying to combat that Okotoks pitching staff tonight. Jackson Yeager leads the way. He actually leads the league in RBIs early on in the season, so he's having a good year. Willie Edwards, Nugsy, he's a favorite of yours from Australia. He's been unbelievable. Austin Gurney, a returner from last year. Thomas Soto, a returner from last year. So those are 2 important players as well. And as we continue to move on, we'll have a look at Moose Jaw's pitching staff. Just because I know we're a little tight on time here, Nugi, so we got to keep going. Cam Sparrowhawk, he started the game last night. His numbers aren't probably where he wants them to be, but he is a solid pitcher. Weston Walls, as you can see, he'll look to get those numbers a little shrunken here tonight, but he's got some impressive stuff as well. And then Nathan Pizzio, the local kid, he closed out the game. And we'll talk to the head coach, Eric Marriott, about Nathan Pizzio shortly here. But Nugsy, really quickly, what do you think the keys to watch for tonight might be? Whether this is, storylines, there's some playoff positioning on the line here, streaks. What do you got?
Well, first of all, for Moose Jaw, Weston Walls is a veteran guy, big boy. Did not have his best stuff last time out against Brooks, so he'll look to have a good start. Against a potent Okotoks team, they'll be frustrated with their loss.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Brady Forno, similar guy, local guy to Okotoks. Big, strong guy as well. You're going to see some velocity here tonight with both of these guys, veteran guys. And it's a situation, for Okotoks, they're not used to losing a couple in a row. They're used to being dominant. So, again, I expect a real fierce, intense attitude from the top. Now, talking about a player to watch quickly here for Moose Jaw, I mentioned Jackson Yeager, how important he is for this Moose Jaw team in one game in baseball in the grand scheme. It's a blip. 0 for 5 last night, 2 strikeouts. He expects himself to do a lot more. You mentioned William Edwards. He couldn't do much better than he did. 5 for 6, 5 extra base hits, 5 RBIs, I think, or 3 RBIs, pardon me. But, there's firepower all over the place. Benito Bonilla, 2 home runs. You mentioned it for Okotoks. So to expect anything other than a lot more runs is probably foolishness, but we'll see.
Well, to talk a little bit more about that, we're going to head out on the video chat line to be joined by Okotoks Dawgs head coach Lou Pote now. Lou, thanks for joining us today. Obviously appreciate your time on a game day. Let's start with last night. Obviously a crazy one in Moose Jaw, and now you're playing them again tonight. But let's talk about last night. Just how crazy was that game for you guys?
Yeah, we just neither team can really hold. We get a lead and then we give it right back up, and then kind of did that for 3-4 innings. So obviously, from an offensive standpoint, it was a fun game to watch, especially fans. But as a coach, defensively and from a pitching standpoint, not a pretty frustrating game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so far this season, 7-5 on the year. 7-3 in your last 10. So technically, you're playing some really good winning baseball right now. But give us a synopsis on the season so far, Lou.
We just, got some guys banged up. We got guys, fresh faces coming in. Guys just getting their feet wet. Guys that haven't played in front of some crowds on a regular basis, so nerves become, I think there's a lot of factors, and we're just getting some guys in the town, and got some, guys are still showing up. So anytime with that, you get new faces, a bunch of new guys on the team. Sometimes it takes a little while to gel as a team and get going. So they're a combination of things.
For sure. And, obviously this is a rematch of the final from a year ago. And did you kind of sense from Moose Jaw the urgency of maybe getting a little bit of revenge? And, how important is it then for you guys to kind of lay a statement in a series like this on the road against a very good team, to gel early and to make a statement that, you guys are out for the same result as last year?
Anytime I feel like, when you get that target on your back, like especially us winning the last 3, everybody comes in, trying to take you down. Moose Jaw's a really good team. They scrap, they grind, and Eric does a good job of building that team. So it is expected, and it's just nothing's ever going to top that final game last year. But the intensity is a little bit different when you get the 2 teams that played the final year before.
Yeah, I know for sure. And, obviously tonight you turn to Brody Forno, local boy, his second start of the year, 3rd appearance. I guess what are you looking for from him I guess he hasn't pitched in 4 days, so a little bit of freshness too.
Yeah, it's Brody pitched game 2 for us in the final last year. So I think, veteran guy, understands, how to keep the ball on the ground, not keep it in, not let him hit it in the air, especially here. The ball carries a little bit, and sometimes offensively it can be a frustrating place to pitch for pitchers. So he's a contact guy, but he's also been around. So just if he can give us, what he gave us last year in game 2, I'm more than happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, he was on the mound there in Moose Jaw too. You mentioned, him being in that final. So a little familiarity with the surroundings in a big moment. And speaking of big moments, it's always good to get a guy like Connor Crowson back, obviously the MVP of the playoffs and the way he walked it off. How important is it to have that continuity? I know with the academy and with the, the group of young guys that you have that know each other so well, continuity is the name of the game for you guys. But to have a Connor Crowson in that locker room and that lineup's got to be so key.
Oh, it's huge, and I think that's one of the keys to our success for the last 3 years for sure has been having some core guys back, whether it be on the pitching staff or in our lineup, and it's no different with Connor this year. He's just a fun-loving guy. Accepts everybody in, and lets the guys knows what to expect coming into the league that have never played in the league before. Some guys are, a lot of guys are coming to playing with wood bats for the first full time for coming from college. So he does a great job, carrying the load sometimes, but also helping other guys out that might maybe struggling a little bit. So it's always good to have that veteran presence.
So some super cool news for your family outside of the WCBL. I guess he played last year with the Sylvan Lake Gulls, but your son Owen just signed his contract with the Cincinnati Reds. So a pretty cool moment for your family, and he now continues on a bit of that Major League Baseball legacy that the family has. Can you just talk about Owen and kind of his journey?
Yeah, he's just, he was he played baseball when he was younger, and then he switched to basketball, and then probably I think when he was 16, he wanted to play baseball again, and anything he does, he works hard at, and he's all in. So for him to last year, have an opportunity to hear his name called by the Reds was awesome, and it's a pretty proud moment for our family, but a lot of work that has to be put in after to continue his journey. So, he's really excited. He's down in Arizona now, starting his career. So, just excited to see how his journey is, and ultimately, hopefully, it takes him to the major leagues.
That's awesome. Congratulations to you and your family. Last one from me. Tell me about the smile on Benito Bonilla's face. I know you guys lost, so maybe a little muted, but 2 home run night. Does he have another 2 in him tonight, you think, or what?
Well, it's easier said than done, but he's just that's Benny. Like he's it's infectious. He loves and when he seems to go hit one, he hits 2. Last year, I think he hit 2 in a game against Sylvan, which was great to see. But it was really good to see him just to get going. I think he's been close the last probably week, but to see him kind of break out a little bit last night was awesome.
Well, like you said, Lou, I've played in Roswells several times myself over the years. That park is pretty unpredictable. Anything can happen. So we'll see tonight. Good luck against in the rematch in the back-to-back, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
From Okotoks Dawgs, Coach Lou Pote. Now we're going to head to the Moose Jaw Miller Express as we're joined now by Eric Marriott. Eric, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Obviously, last night we're going to start there. A big comeback walk-off win for you guys. Crazy night in Moose Jaw. How much are you taking from that game, or is it kind of a throwaway game for you as a coach?
Yeah, I think we got to take a little bit from every game, and that's a great game to win against a really well-coached team and a team that we have a little bit of storied history with. So I think we take a little bit more from that game than we would in a normal regular season game for sure.
Yeah, obviously a really exciting atmosphere there. So far on the season, 5-6 on the year, Eric. Kind of mimicking a little bit of your start from last year in a sense. Talk to me about just the progression of the season so far, 11 games in, going on to game 12 tonight.
Yeah, I think every year is a little bit different in terms of how quickly you get your guys in and how quickly everyone's here and how quickly everyone molds together as a team and a cohesive unit. And in our last recent games here, we've kind of done that offensively. We've done a good job of stringing hits together, and then our pitching staff is slowly finding their role. And like I said, we don't have our full band together yet, and once we do, I think we'll be just fine.
But one guy that you do have from down under, I don't know what nickname you might have, but William Edwards doesn't seem to be, nobody can get this guy out right now. I think he has 9 extra base hits in his last 7 games. A huge night again last night. Are you following him around? Are you seeing what he's eating for breakfast? What's the deal with William Edwards?
You know what? Willie has been exactly what we expected. He's a baller. He was one of our first signings in the offseason, and he wanted to be a Miller Express baseball player right from the get-go. And he came in here with a chip on his shoulder in terms of wanting to win that center field job, and he's ran away with it. And he's been electric, and the guys love him, and he's been an absolute joy to coach.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like he's got a great personality, too. I saw his post-game interview, I think, so pretty cool. I mean, Australian personality, I guess it makes sense. I guess, from a guy that kind of had success recently, and you know better than me that baseball is all about turning the page fast, but, you mentioned that Wes Walz is getting the start for you, and maybe a bit of a rough one last time out for him. So I guess, is there something you had to say to him, or is something that somebody on the team said to him to just, turn that page quickly, because these are young baseball players?
Yeah, Wes is one of our leaders. We after the last start, we told the boys, you know what, we all know that that's not Wes Walls who went out there and performed tonight, and he'll flip the page really quick. And he was the first one in the dugout to tell you that. He is a great teammate, and he's a phenomenal leader, and I expect him to bounce back tonight big time.
So, Nugsy, I'm stealing your question from our interview with Lou, but he asked Lou kind of, did you sense any sense of urgency out of Moose Jaw after, a bit of revenge from last year in the finals? Was there any of that for you guys, or were you trying to treat this as just another game last night?
No, I wouldn't say there's any sense of revenge or anything like that. We know they're a good squad over there, and that coaching staff they're awesome, man. Like, they come into town and we chat half an hour before the game yesterday. They're great. We get along phenomenally. There's no hot hands between us or anything like that. We just know that every time that we play one another, it's going to be a good ball game, and it's going to be scrappy. And they came out and punched us with a 5 spot, and we punched back with a 3 spot, and then the rest of the game was a fun one, and we expect another one tonight for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Last one for me. And so, obviously, given the work that he put in last night, I don't expect, Nathan Pizzio to pitch again tonight, because that would be a lot of work. But what a performance by him in a game. You look at 12-11, you don't think, oh, the pitcher was unbelievable. But, 2 2/3 against that lineup, 3 strikeouts, only 1 hit, 1 run. Not a big guy, local guy. You got to be so proud to have that kind of a performance from a guy like that last night, and try to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, Pease is awesome. He's a savage, for lack of better terms. He's one of our AP guys, and he's been around the ballpark since he was just a little kid. And I remember him when I was a player in Moose Jaw, running around catching foul balls, and he's earned it. He puts in the work in the off season over the last few years, and he's running away with our closer job right now. And he's awesome. I'm proud is an understatement.
That's super cool to hear. And there's all sorts of stories like that around the league, and that's what makes this league so great. Eric, appreciate your time today. Good luck the rest of the way, and good luck tonight specifically.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Well, appreciate the time from the coaches here tonight. It's going to be a great game at Roswell's Park. If you're watching this on Flow College, you're good to go. You stick around and enjoy the game. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you get your subscription to Flow College. Head over there now, and you can watch the broadcast headed up by the great Rod Peterson. You'll be able to hear his voice coming up shortly. It's going to be a great game. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and get your subscription to Flow College, and enjoy the game, everyone, tonight. Here's Rod Peterson.